Welcome to Netflix and Kill, Voltron edition, guys. That's right, we're talking about those robot lions again today. This will be a little more unconventional because we had to skip a season. They come out way too fast, and
it's been like a month.
And we spent that month like in Austin and then doing another convention, and we just did not get to season 6. So we're jumping ahead to season 7. But speaking of our trip down to Austin, that's where we met our guest. Say hi, Elliott.
Hey!
And that is Elliott Fontanet of oneofus.net. He's a contributor over there. And we got to meet him at their what they call the gathering, their group meetup of, I guess it's like kind of just a general podcast. It's like not really a theme. It's just a bunch of geeks drinking and talking about nerdy shit, right?
Yeah, it's sort of a free form. It grew out of there's the old podcast League of Extremely Ordinary Gentlemen. Every year at Christmas would have a podcast called Blue Christmas that was completely free form, and as Blue got really, really explicit. Mm-hmm. So the gathering is sort of a version of that. Not quite as explicit because it's hard to be that blue every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
you
more
need the special combination of depression and
alcohol.
A holiday Christmas. Yes, eggnog and depression is really what makes a Blue Christmas come together.
It's podcast fuel.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of those on the podcast fuel, why, it's me, Nick the Merc with a mic, and of course my fellow Unapologist to my left here,
Travis,
the god of the pod himself. And yes, today we are talking about Voltron Season 7.
I can't believe we're finally going home.
It's going to be a very long and difficult voyage, but it's our only chance to replace the Castle of Lions.
Through ourselves we send a sign, but the messages are breaking.
This is Katie Holt, Paladin of the Green Voltron Lion, broadcasting to Earth. Does anyone copy? Over.
No one has seen you since your fight with Lotor.
So everyone that was helping us thinks we're dead.
Pushing further.
Enemy ships incoming! Everyone scan the area for anything we can use for cover.
I've never seen the Galra use weapons like these before.
Guys, you seen this?
To any beings who... Planet, we need help.
We have to stay together.
Everyone in formation. What the heck just happened?
I'm guessing the Lions didn't have enough power to form Voltron.
So now what?
We will attack where they are vulnerable.
So we will do a brief, since we didn't do season 6, my brief synopsis is, it was okay. I feel like they fucked up Lotor, in my opinion. I thought he was interesting as a villain and as a good guy, and they tried to split the difference, and it didn't really turn out right.
They kind of got neither.
But otherwise, I thought that was season 6 was a pretty solid season. I don't know, Travis, did you agree?
No, it was pretty good. Yeah,
okay. Elliot, how did you feel about season 6 before we jump into season 7?
I really liked season 6, and I respectfully, I'm going to disagree on Lotor. I feel like it was definitely a little cliched what they did with him. You sort of saw it coming. I wish they had done a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I like that they sort of showed, one of the things these creators are really good at doing, they did it a lot in Avatar, is showing that you don't win automatically. That's not the way life goes. So for instance, in Avatar, at the end of I think it was mid-season 3 or end of season 2, they did the Day of the Black Sun, where they tried to invade the Fire Nation before they were really ready and got their ass whooped. This is sort of the same thing where it's like, you think, oh, we got Lotor, he's all good, and no, that's not the way shit goes. Sometimes you just got to grind it out. And season 6 sort of really takes the time to set up some stuff that's going to really pay off in season 7. But, if there's one complaint I do have about season 6 that leads into season 7 is, I really want them to just figure out, what they're doing instead of having to keep on time jump.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, dude, just do an arc. Like,
it feels like we're constantly backflipping to try and get to a certain segment the writers actually want to write the story about.
Yes, and it's like, look, you can do that once in a while. Like if you didn't know your show was going to get renewed, like Babylon 5 had a complete 5-season arc, but they thought they were going to cancel in season 4, so they wrapped it up. And then season 5 was like, we don't know what to do. That's fine. That's just how it is.
Right.
Then you keep on resetting. I'm like, look, this is not supposed to be a comic book. I'm supposed to get a narrative here. But if you pay it off, like season 7 to me paid it off so well, I was like, you know what? I'm going to let it go. Because this stuff on Earth is really cool.
This is going to be fun because I feel like Elliot and Travis, I feel like you feel the same way as me, and we are going to disagree heavily about season 7.
Yeah.
So this is going to be great. But before we do that, Elliot, what is season 7 about, actually?
Yeah, so season 7 is sort of split roughly into 2. So the first half of the season is just them trying to, so they're on the planet that they were on in season 6, and they figure out it's going to take them about 3 years to get back just with the regular speed of the Lions. The Castle of Lions is gone, so they can't just warp anywhere. And so the first half of season 7 is sort of a road trip introspective half. They have some really good episodes about, just, for instance, there's an episode, The Road Home, where they have to decide who gets to, since they have limited cargo space, who's going to be in what line. I like the episode, but when you really think about it, it's like, those are big lions. They have cargo holds.
Yeah,
No, anytime you see the lions next to something normal size, like, oh god, I forgot how fucking huge they are.
You actually forget their perspective because like the lions are so big that you can't even see like your characters next to them.
The lions can eat people and like, oh yeah, that's not going to harm them at all.
No, yeah. And that episode sort of encapsulates just the writing. It has a good payoff, but you have to ignore the contrivance to get to that payoff.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like is a lot of Voltron. And it's happened in previous seasons too, of this, we gotta, like Elliot was saying, contrivance in order to get to the thing we actually want to spend time on. And I get it.
I don't mind when they do this kind of thing, because it does something actually a lot of shows tend to forget nowadays, and that's letting the characters breathe.
Yes.
Sure.
And that is something that I did not mind in the first half of this season. It was like, okay, sometimes we're not going towards the plot, but we're letting the characters kind of do things anyway, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually always been, for me, some of my favorite things. It's like, it's one of the reasons I do a lot of asides, so I'm sorry.
Go for
like
it.
X-Men.
There's plenty of times on this podcast where it's just like, what were we talking about? Oh, that's right, this thing.
The plot. Get back to it.
So don't even feel bad about it, my friend.
Okay, well, it's one of the reasons that, like, old shows, the 1994 X-Men, I really like season 2 where they go into the Phoenix Saga, but a part of me was like, look, it's all an arc and that's great, but can I get an episode where they're just out being X-Men and it's not like a part of an arc?
Mm-hmm.
I love when creators let their worlds breathe. Like Miyazaki is amazing at that. He'll just have establishing shots that just set up how the world works. And you can sit there and breathe in it for like at least a minute or two. And Voltron really does that well. The other episode in the beginning of season 7 that I really liked was The Feud. The one where they're on the game show from nowhere.
Yeah, that nowhere. At first I was like, is this going to be another clip show? And I was kind of didn't like it, but then it kind of slowly won me over to where I'm like, no, this was a fun episode. Yeah. This was fun. That one is really fun because it brings back the villains from the previous seasons, like Zarkon, Lotor, Hagar, and some random minion to play this Family Feud game, and they're just like hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like
they're like basically just caricatures of like Family Feud characters.
Mm-hmm. And I love that they picking on Lance for being the dumb one, but they ask him questions that like even like just people they've met along the way. And I got to tell you, I don't remember any of those people's names. Like I don't remember any of those fucking people.
No, I didn't either. And it's like, it makes me, I'm actually going to go back through and watch from season 1 just to I just want to experience all as a complete narrative because it's been so separated because of the way they release these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hard to keep track. It's like, okay, there was that thing and then that thing. Okay.
I'll tell you what this season has over some of the other ones is that season 7 feels like a complete season.
Yes.
The other ones like these 5-6 episode stints haven't really felt like their own story at all. Like they're just
they're just batches of episodes.
They're arbitrarily cut off at a certain point. Like it never feels like a season finale. And this one feels like a season premiere and a season finale by the end of it.
Honestly, if they had added just a few things, like if you add,
you could end the series here.
Yeah, you add like maybe 3 episodes, you could end the series. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because with how it all they're on the way to Earth and the final conflict on Earth, like it really does feel like I was looking at Travis, I was like, is this the last season? It started to feel like this is the last season.
Mm-hmm. But they had already announced that there was going to be another season.
Mm-hmm.
But that could mean nothing. That could mean 3 episodes for all we fucking know. That could come out next week.
We don't know. So yeah, and you know what? I like that Lance gets a little more play in this season. I always thought that he was always stuck as comic relief, but he gets a little more cool moments in this season to play around.
Well, they pay off all his stuff. Like I remember there was an episode at the beginning of the series where he's like, "I'm going to be the cool sniper guy," and he turns into the cool sniper guy.
He does.
Yep. And he shows competence. Him and Allura seem to be having a burgeoning relationship because Lance is Allura's rebound guy.
Yep, straight up rebound guy.
Hey, shoot your shot. However it works,
he'll take it.
Like whatever
the
Lance needs.
Take the shot.
Keith and Lance shippers be damned. But
ooh, they're gonna damn some people though.
Yeah, like don't say that too loud. They might find us.
They might.
They will. You know what? I'm team Shiro and Keith. Sheath all the way.
Oh god, that's
Fuck you.
still the worst.
It's the
worst ship name
It's
ever.
the worst ship name ever. Like, but yeah, we'll actually we're going to talk about Shiro and his relationship in a little bit. But we're still talking about the stuff we liked about the season. Travis, did you have anything else that you found the season was doing right for you?
See, I liked a large portion of the first half of this season.
Mm-hmm.
There were just too many small things I didn't like at the first half to make me really love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the time jump. I'm sick of time jumps. Sick of them.
Yeah.
Just in general and in this show.
Well, they need to change up the status quo. I'm sorry, what was that, Elliot?
Sorry. They just don't work even from Battlestar Galactica. It just feels lazy.
No, this feels like, oh shoot, we got rid of all the major villains. What do? Let's time jump to create tension.
Mm-hmm.
That means you can't write. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a certain point to where you forgive certain things of just writing convenience, but this season felt a little bit like CW Arrowverse of just writing at the seat of your pants. Like, oh shit. We need to get this done in like an episode. Okay, they time warped, I guess. And, also the Lions teach them a lesson about teamwork and friendship and also teleport them closer to Earth for like no reason. Yeah. Or was that the Lions or was that
I think that was space magic.
That was the space cloud?
Yeah.
Man,
the space magic of friendship.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not like this season was devoid of things that I liked, but I'll tell you what, this has got to be, in my opinion, the weakest season of Voltron in regards to the writing. The writing this season, in my opinion, has taken a drastic step down. And I feel that when we hit Earth, especially.
I feel it way before then.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
Okay, I give them until Earth.
Nope, because we actually talked about this when we were watching, is that, okay, so we jumped in forward in time, all of Zarkon's forces are like, all the Galra are splintered off in faction. They're fighting amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
But they somehow destroyed the Blade of Memora. A fucking spy group gets destroyed while the thing they're fighting is splintered.
Well, they had that one. It sounded like that might not have been as big of a deal as they.
Well, no, they're not like completely gone like the one episode.
Yeah, but they did take a significant blow. Plus, later where it's revealed that the alliance that they brought together is also like, oh, there's so few of us left. Like they get a message saying that how they got fucked up, and I'm like, no,
That's where you should have been strongest.
How are you doing worse against a fractured Galra Empire?
Like think of it in Star Wars. If would the Rebel Alliance get crushed because the Empire Star got splintered off?
Well, I mean,
that makes no sense.
I see what Charles is saying, and honestly, I really wish they had done the work of, if you want that stuff to happen, you got to show me it happening.
Yeah.
You can't. It's cheap to just say, well, we're going to get criticized, so let's just time jump and people can make up their own shit.
No,
But-
it's literally they're like, we don't know what to write for these characters, so we're gonna sweep them under the rug.
Well,
Also,
it's like easy narrative, narrative thing. Just have a couple scenes of where like, wait, aren't the Galra aren't they splintered off? Yes, but before fighting each other, they're gathering up resources across the universe.
Yeah,
and they're it's a mad dash, desperate dash to gather resources, and it's not that hard to like just make it make a little more sense.
there's way too many stuff they just decide to sweep under the rug. They're like, well, we're not gonna deal with this, sweep under the rug. Oh, by the way, Mama Keith, get in there. Come on, get in there. Get under that rug.
Secondary characters, Keith's mom, get out of here.
We're gonna add more.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but like, I actually sort of really like that the Galra become more virulent. They become more dangerous after Zarkon and Lotor just aren't there as a unifying force. To me, it sort of matches what you see sometimes in geopolitics. You look at, and this is not remotely the same thing, but it's sort of an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
You got Iraq. They're like, oh, Saddam Hussein, like, so bad, but the minute you take him out of there, it becomes really bad. And it's like, you got all these, because like you had all these horrible independent actors that were sort of so scared of this one person, they sort of kept their shit in line. But all of a sudden, that person's not there, and everybody just sort of starts doing their own thing. And even if they're only fighting each other, they don't give a shit about you as the collateral damage. Like, I forgot the name of the Galra in the last part of the season. Zendak, yeah. He probably didn't, if you look at what he did, he didn't give a shit about the Earth. It wasn't like he's like, man, I gotta go take over the Earth. He was just like, look, I just want to kill Voltron so that I can run shit. And it was just a means to an end. If he didn't have to do that, he would have never gone to Earth.
Yeah, I guess my problem here is just that, like Travis is saying, that they didn't like.
It's a show don't tell type of thing.
I mean, they didn't show like us that this was happening. It just made the Alliance look pathetic and weak.
You're completely right. Like, I think it's just, it's a problem, and sort of probably it's a problem in my criticism, in that I just sort of, I'm giving it such a pass, honestly. Like, you're right, believe me, but it's just like the writing does get bad to set things up, but the scenes are so good that I'm sort of like, look, if we had to get through that to get there, fine. And then the animation.
We brought up the comparison to Avatar and Legend of Korra before, and where like I do believe like when I'm enjoying something, I do give it passes, but my passes are limited.
Yes.
And Avatar and Korra got better about their shit as they went along.
Oh, yes.
They tightened up their narrative. They figured out what worked and what didn't work, and they buckled down and got to some really cool stuff. Voltron still feels like it's trying to figure itself out.
It doesn't even know what story it wants to tell.
It's 69 episodes, and it still feels so unsure of itself, and I'm just tired of giving it a pass on it.
No, you're. I mean, look, for me to get to even season 7. I had to make myself watch seasons 1 through 3 because it was hard to get through for me.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched them in a while, but I remember that they weren't like they're like I remember season 2 being pretty good. Like season 1 is pretty generic, but
well, they're very monster of the week at the begining, and it's like, come on, people, like you're on a streaming service. You don't need to keep me from week to week here. But it's like,
yeah.
If you want to, and also if you want to sell toys, make your toys better. Like, that's still like, I want to buy a bunch of toys. Like, I can send y'all pictures. Like, I'm sitting in my my wife and I, we have like a little office in the apartment we're living in for now, and it's just like wall to ceiling. Like, there's like a bookcase with toys, like Funkos and Amiibos and shit. And it's like, look, I want to give you money, but please make better action figures.
Yeah, I do love that. I actually like the fact that we don't see Voltron a whole lot in this show anymore.
No,
and like I like the fact that we fight with the individual lions more.
And hand-to-hand combat.
The hand-to-hand like there's a fight in this season that might be the best fight in the entire series with the teleporting guy.
Yes,
and it's so good. Like it's really reminds me like, oh, this is why I'm still watching Voltron. Like of just moments like these of like this so fantastic animation. Now you can tell where they cut corners later to where they had to afford that animation. There's a scene me and Travis were laughing at in the Final Invasion arc where Zendak has the same rhythm of the 2-shot of Zendak's minion up front, and then close up on Zendak. And that happens like 6 times.
In the one episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I feel like the lip flaps are even the same, and I'm like, come on, guys. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I would be more forgiving that in the original Voltron series, where they literally are like stitching it together to make it make sense in English.
So yeah, I also don't like that we keep adding secondary characters and ditching other secondary characters. Can we just pick some and then stick with them and make them interesting? Because Lotor's minions as pirates, that sounds cool. Why don't we have more than one episode with them? Like, especially since they kind of imply they might be together, sort of. I don't know.
It's Schrodinger's gay. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I guess I don't understand because, like, again, it's not all the same writers. Like, the main guys behind Avatar and Korra are not here doing it, but a lot of the writers, some of the writers are similar, and all the animation teams the same. And I feel like Netflix would let them be a little more. They'd have more freedom. So, like, why not show a gay relationship at some point?
Well, I mean, we're going to get into that later, but isn't Voltron, the IP, actually owned by a different party?
It might be, and I'm not sure. Because,
I mean, it's DreamWorks, like, that, and it's aired on Netflix. I mean, I think I agree with you. Like, me personally, like, I would love that if they really just went into, like, just all different types of relationships, but it's like if you look at Twitter and I think Tumblr, it's like this is still a big deal. It's not. You really have to fight for these things. It's like, and I wish that on Korra they had shown Asami and Korra with more lead up, even though it was very easy to see if you were looking for it, but they had to be so coy about it.
Yeah,
because they couldn't even let them kiss at the end.
Yeah, and then they were saying that they had to fight with the network, and they wanted the kiss, but they couldn't get it, and they got it as close as possible. And with Netflix, I'm like, well, there shouldn't be that much of a fight, but maybe Elliott's right, like the IP's owned by somebody else.
I mean, it's a DreamWorks show, so I don't know if it matters.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I suppose we should talk about Shiro then, while we're on the subject. So, Shiro's thing, he has a relationship that starts off really good. Like, he actually has a moment, like, there's a scene where they show him with his fiancé, and they're together, they have an actual, like, real conversation, like, hey, you don't go off and leave, because I can't deal with the fact that you might die. If you leave, I might not come back here. Like, or I might not be here when you get back. Sorry. And that's some good drama right there. Like, that's some good shit. And they fuck it later. Like, we'll save it for the spoiler section, but they totally fucked that up. Mm-hmm. Like, they had a great lead up. Like, I've never seen someone shoot themselves in the foot in regards to LGBTQ representation.
I wouldn't even call this great lead up.
Like,
because for one thing, you missed that scene.
I did.
You went to the bathroom and missed all of it.
I went back and watched it.
I understand that, but I'm saying, if you can go to the bathroom and miss a whole entire relationship, it's probably not a relationship.
But no, that scene, like, it could have worked if once they got back and they had a conversation about it. It's a great setup for a relationship of, like, why, even though they would come back and they would be happy, there would be, tension in the relationship, you know?
But as that is basically the only scene, that could be the same thing as, oh, they're just gal pals.
Yeah, they're just
type
friends.
Of thing. Or like, that one would be easily ignorable.
There's a lot of having your cake and eating it too going on here, and I'm not a fan of it.
Nope. It's also more just kind of lazy writing. Like, oh, let's look up tropes on how to get fandom representation. Here's this one, we'll take this.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying. My perspective more is, I remember when I was growing up, I was watching like Captain Planet, and Captain Planet today sometimes gets maligned because it has token representation, which it does.
Yeah.
But some of this is a step towards what you want. So it's like you go from no representation to bad representation to token to purposeful as much as you can get, and then you get to where you want, and then it becomes almost incidental. It's like if you talk about for African Americans, like, you went from token to bad in the 20s, and then token with Captain Planet.
Well, where I feel that differs is that Captain Planet and stuff of that ilk of like the 80s at least it has all the different, the different ethnicities of the kids. They're all heroes, and they all get to stick around the whole time and be heroes and be figures. And
but it's different in terms of all you have to do to get representation of a race is just
have them there.
Yeah, have them there, put a different color.
Yeah, it's a little visually, it's a little easier, I guess.
And look, again, I agree with y'all, and this is not me giving them an out so much as I'm trying to. It makes sense.
I know that
me.
You're a lawyer, but you got to be devil's advocating this though so hard. Like
it's me trying to understand. It makes sense to me why the season feels disjointed, because they probably had to rewrite a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They probably sent it up and it got rejected probably a bunch of times pretty hard.
Ooh,
that's what
maybe
I think.
That's why.
That's all. And look, I'm not trying to be like, sometimes you got to stand up and maybe just not make it, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be like, we tried, but then you didn't do it and you didn't stand up for it, because you can't get both credit.
I never thought about it from that perspective before, but say you did have a whole plan and they only accepted half of it. Do you try and do the Korra and get as close as you can and risk pissing off both parties?
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely something going on the show, probably in the back end, because these disjointed seasons feel very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to blame entirely the writing for this. It's definitely some back production issues or something is going on here. I'm not 100% sure what.
Well, here's the weirdest release schedule I've ever seen for a Netflix series.
For any series.
It's just Voltron at Wednesday, November 10th.
Between this and Steven Universe, I have no idea how long the series is.
They're getting shorter as time goes by. Eventually it's going to the point where there's going to be every day. It's just going to be a weekly show.
It feels like it's like, how long has Voltron been out? Maybe 4 or 5, 4 years, and we have 7 seasons. How the
3?
Fuck? How the fuck does that work?
No, I don't think it's been out for 3 years. Honestly,
I'm having a hard time remembering where. I remember we were back in I was back in Kyle's apartment back when I first started watching it. But yeah, so there's that whole controversy, and we'll get into it a little more specifics on the spoiler section. I suppose we have to talk about me and Travis's our least favorite part, because the representation thing just kind of pissed us off, and it might have led to us not giving stuff a pass like we usually would, because we were mad. And
2016 was season 1.
2016?
June 2016.
No way. That's not right.
Uh-huh.
What?
June 10th, 2016.
That's crazy. No.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Are you trying to say the internet's gonna lie to me, Nick? Is the internet gonna lie?
That rocks my world. Okay. Oh man, I totally forgot my even point.
So you're talking about the Admiral.
The Earth invasion. I hate it.
It sounds like Lindsay Ellis. Thanks, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it. I don't. Man, they really fucked this up for me. And I'll tell you what, they try and make Pidge's dad the leader of the Resistance. And
boy, does that not work.
I don't know how you felt about it, Elliott, but me and Travis were on what's supposed to be the assholes commander side the whole time.
Maybe we're just getting old and jaded, but...
Well, and then it's like, oh, you're going to keep me here against my will? And it's like, you just came from an alien environment. We have no idea where you've been for the past 5 years. Yeah. We're a military installation.
We're gonna have a good discussion, because I completely disagree. I love the Earth invasion. I've watched it 4 times since I watched it the first time.
Wow, we barely got through it.
Yeah, we hated it.
We were I literally sat down and Nick asked me so you want to finish Voltron? I'm like, I mean, if I'm not gonna finish it now, I'm never going to. So you might as well make me watch it.
So. And then we get the writing of the commander wants to keep everything tight-lipped and not tell the general populace to avoid panic, and Pidge's dad wants to yell to the heavens like a crazy person about an alien invasion. So he makes a big plea on video, and there's 2 things. One, this would never work. Everyone would think it was a hoax. No one would be convinced of this. Because the government, all they'd have to do is that person was crazy and discredit them, and then throw Pidge's dad in a hole for the rest of his life while figuring out reverse engineering alien technology. 2,
if it did work,
even if it did work and everyone believed it, there would be so much panic and looting. Like it's, and I know Voltron errs on the side of humanity is amazing and look at what we can do when we band together. No, I can't believe that everyone was all like, look, and everyone wants to help, and no one's freaking out or looting or, doing anything that might happen during, say, a natural disaster.
In real life, there are probably more deaths in the first week from panic than from the Galra invasion.
We can't get hurricanes figured out, and I'm supposed to believe that we got this, the response to an alien fucking invasion is anything but chaos?
I tell you, I think I see where the disconnect between me and y'all are. I think it's that there's a point where a show just breaches your ability to give a shit, where you're like, fuck it. And you just, this stuff in every successive cut, like, just messes with you more. And I get it, because I get that from time to time on other shows.
I do feel like I've hit my breaking point, so I think you might have
Because, like, I was so into it that I just didn't even think about that on that level until you said it. Like, and you make a lot of sense. You make a great point. I just was, like, so with it.
You were wrapped up in it?
Yeah, my brain was like, look, just keep on going. This is some good shit right now. Like, just some of the characters like Leaf's daughter and that fighter squadron. And watching the show, it feels like the show that should have come out before Korra. Because it's like, you don't go backwards in quality. You should be like, oh, we know what to do now. Let's have everything make good sense. If we're going to do representation, let's really fight for it and get as close as we can. But it feels sloppy in a way that I don't understand why, because they obviously have the budget and the talent to not be sloppy.
I'm not even sure if they have the budget anymore because of all the things they tried to skimp on and save. Because they only have one big real Voltron fight this season. And all the budget got saved for that. And yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I've had that same thing with shows that I like, because I'm like, I like this, so I'm not going to really pay attention to a lot of the stuff that I don't like about it.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that there's so many things wrong with the season up to that point that I can't forgive it anymore.
I guess it's the straw that breaks the camel's back for us here. Also, we spend 2 episodes without the Voltron crew, and I don't care about any of these people.
We were taking bets on who was going to die first.
I tell you what, I feel like a lot of the Voltron crew is underdeveloped, even though
Hunk barely has any personality. I mean, he has 8 character traits. No, that's what he has.
I mean, he gets a little bit more this season. I would say that he finally gets some points here where he gets to be a real person. So I actually like that for this season, giving Hunk a couple moments here. But it's taken a while for Lance to be anything but the goofball. I hated Keith the longest time. Like, it felt like they couldn't even get the regular cast right for a long time, and now we finally have, and we're going to spend 2 episodes learning who these 5 assholes are.
No, it's just like, you really wish that they had done this work. I shouldn't be able to watch you do work on screen. That should be for the writer's room. You should figure that shit out and then execute. Don't, like, I'm like watching them figure out characters and then introduce new characters that, look, I like, but I remember when I was watching the Squadron and I'm watching Keith's new potential girlfriend and all these, and like even the Wolf from last season, I'm like, these are great, but you need to give me more than just introduce them, because like I'm making up shit in my head of, they probably had this really cool backstory and I really wish I'd seen some of that stuff instead of like some of the stuff. And honestly, I'd rather they just pick. Like, either you're going to have Lotor and like really explore him and go to all these galaxies, or you're going to spend 3 seasons in a concurrent storyline talking about these characters on Earth. And then they meet up. Like Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy or some shit.
That could be cool. And I'll tell you what, I actually like the blonde girl that I think might be on the spectrum.
No, she's just a robot. Leaf's daughter's a robot, I swear.
I just her dialogue is very clipped, but I thought she just couldn't speak for the longest time. I thought she might have been mute. But there's like, I don't even remember the other people. That's how generic they are.
Kincaid is the black guy.
Okay. Yep. And
I don't remember the other
there's
two.
the one with the glasses.
Yep, there sure is.
Yeah, and then there's New Lance.
New Lance, yep.
Yeah.
New Lance.
Yeah.
Lance put his shit together.
Yeah, he's less goofball, but he's still kind of the cocky pilot of the crew. And yeah, I don't care about them. I don't care about Pidge's dad being the resistance leader, especially when it shows him fucking up and actually being wrong. Like the what's messed up about it is that the Admiral, she says, like, no, we're not going to let you call Voltron because that's what we'll call the Galra to us. Like, we got to make sure that we're ready for an invasion before we send out any signals at all. And they let him do it, and guess what happens? The exact thing she said would happen happens.
And they don't even get to Voltron until later on when they actually, like, they get to, not Voltron, but Adam, his son. And he's like, Dad, stop doing that. You're being dumb.
So, surprisingly, the Admiral never brings this up when they're arguing later of like, hey, I've been right before. It's not like I've been a complete asshole this entire time. I've had reasons for doing everything that I'm doing. Like, I'm not just some stereotypical military asshole. That's next episode where I betrayed the team for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
And God, it's like, that one is weird because it's not even the fact that it's writing on the level of like they didn't want to put the work in. They actually put the work in to make her an interesting, nuanced character, but didn't realize they were doing it.
Yeah, it was like by accident. But they made too interesting of a character. Like, you were trying to make a villain, right? Yeah, didn't do it.
No, because in another show that recognizes that she has a point, that character would be great because we would be like, oh, I don't know whose side I'm on. But the show obviously wants you to be on Pidge's dad's side the whole time. And I'm just not.
I'm 100% not.
Because he's undermining her authority at every point, and I just don't, I don't understand how she doesn't arrest him.
Yeah, no, he should be put in a black side and be like, here, you're going to do this work for us, and I don't care anymore.
But yeah, also when the invasion of Earth does happen, it feels very Mass Effect, in the fact that we see some cities get destroyed, but we never see really any aftermath of anything happening, but I do get the feeling that, holy shit, a ton of people are dying.
Oh, well, it's funny too, because they said, like, in that video announcement that, Pidge's dad put out, it's like, most of Earth's population is captured. I'm like, you mean dead, right?
Well,
that's the word you meant to use.
Some of them
dead.
for work camps, I guess, but, like, yeah, they never show them capturing anybody. All they ever show them is blowing the shit out of the cities.
You know, those people are dead. There's not enough G.I. Joe parachutes and animation for those people. Like, no, they're dead.
Yeah, and so I actually like the stakes that they bring to the Earth fight. There's, even the Earth fight has a lot of things that in concept are good. Like, but just like in Mass Effect 3, like, as soon as we hit Earth, I really check out. Because I know exactly what's gonna happen. Like, by the time we get the betrayal from one of our own, I know exactly how that story goes. And then there's just the final conflict. And then there's a final conflict after the end of the final conflict, like out of nowhere.
Which is also one of the most interesting parts of the season, though.
Don't get me wrong. It's like my favorite part about the series, because that fight is awesome. But
things just keep happening. And it's like, look, I thought this, like, it's almost like you think it's over like 3 different times. Yeah. And I enjoy that because, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, but even me, I'm like, there's a pang of, wait a second, how many times can you just keep going? Can you stop and just come to a climax here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this series is becoming a lot of, like, this isn't a narrative anymore. It's just things happen.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that South Park joke of, like, or I think it was South Park that was like, here's what the difference between bad writing and good writing. And bad writing is this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And good writing is this happens, and because that happens, this happens. And because that happens, this happens.
Yep. This is becoming a really good example of bad writing.
And there's a little too much of and this happens going on, especially near the end here. And yeah, it does. You know what? I will say that in the end does set up some cool stuff for season 8 that I actually am like, you know what? I even though I didn't like this season very much, I actually am curious to watch season 8 because it sets up some really interesting mysteries regarding of how this season concludes. Oh, I forgot there's a new Altean member of the crew.
Ram, I think.
Romula or whatever. And here's the thing I don't get. I was looking up some other people's reviews, and it's like they watched a completely different show than me, because some people were saying, like, oh, this new Altean character is so great, she steals every scene she's in. And I'm like, okay, 1, how many scenes is she in? It feels like she's not in this at all. And 2, she almost has no lines in most of the episodes she is in. This is a non-character.
Yeah,
Like,
she seems mostly just like the current Altean that was. She seems like Allura.
yes.
Like, they just color shifted. They're like, okay, this is a shadow fighter from Smash Brothers.
And I don't understand why Allura and her are not talking more, because Allura thought her whole race was fucking dead. And all of a sudden, suddenly they're not. There's a whole science research center full of Alteans. Here's one of her own people that she thought was long dead, and they like never have a conversation.
Well, I tell you what, like there definitely is bad writing, and when you have bad writing in which you don't realize it's bad, you have these remnants of story arcs that just sort of hang out because you didn't know what to do with them once they were done. And so that's what this character is. It's just a remnant from the Alteans that survived, and we don't really know what we want to do with them, but we're going to keep them there. Now, if you really want to be charitable, which I guess I am being to this show, I sort of look at it like, look, the world and especially the universe most likely is extremely complicated, and sometimes shit doesn't wrap up neatly. But you gotta, as a writer, your job is to present us with a narrative that makes sense. Like, we shouldn't have to. A wizard did it. Everything.
I'll tell you what, and I do like the random power-ups that Voltron gets. But I do find it funny that the sci-fi series has way more magical Deus Ex Machina bullshit happening in it than anything that happened in Avatar and Korra, which was the magic one.
That's because a lot of shows have it like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up a set of rules, and then we're going to give examples of how they can break them. This show goes like, we're going to break the rules. You didn't set them up yet. We're going to break the rules.
There are no rules.
And the thing is, like, Avatar and Korra, every time they get a power-up, they've been hinting at it. They have been talking about, you know,
do training or some bullshit,
or some Zen connection with your Avatar spirit. Like, this talks about it, and it's honestly that type of stuff in Voltron is my favorite part of the series. But they don't really give it enough service most of the time. But when there was at the end of, I think, season 2, when Shiro disappears, and they really talk about the connection, and it really comes home. That's a great moment. But you really should lean into that and really develop it and have an episode like there was an episode in Avatar: Last Airbender where Aang was training with the Guru. And he talks about the chakras, and they really explain, here's how he's accessing all of this. I really I want more information about the mysticism of Voltron, so that when there's a thing we'll talk about in the spoilers, when Shiro pulls this move, I at least see it coming.
Right.
It's just like, what? How is this thing happening?
Yeah, oh boy, we're going to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, even Hunk gets like these new sentry turrets that show up in one episode and then never again, which are cool. Like, I like them.
I just want Hunk to also go, I have opened the path. Wait, what?
Yes.
He's beginning to believe.
Yeah. We should give more people Overwatch power-ups. I like it. But yeah, there's just a lot of like, there's not even a connection with like the lions trying to teach them a lesson and then they get a power up. There's just, sometimes they get one and it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason to it. And I don't know, I think I just enjoy a show more when I feel like there is a method to the madness going on and it's like we're building to something. And at this point, like, they have so many power-ups that I don't know, like, they can control their lions without even being in them anymore by the end of this. And I'm like, wait a minute. So aren't you, like, just win every fight then? Like, because then you don't even have to be there for any fight.
Yeah, Voltron's now a drone.
Yeah, I don't... wait, but... I don't know. I'll tell you what, we've been talking for a while, so why don't we just go into our final thoughts before we get into the spoiler section. Elliott, I want you to start off, because, you know, you enjoyed this season much more than us, so we'll let you have in the first word on how you felt about it overall.
Well, I tell you, like, I actually enjoyed this season a lot, but y'all have brought up such great points. I'm actually going to have to lower my rating, honestly, because, like, look.
Well, now we feel bad.
No. I try my best to, you know, even if I enjoy something, if people make good points, I want to take them into account, and I had already factored in that some of the writing wasn't the best, so I honestly wasn't evaluating the writing so much as I was evaluating the dialogue and the scenes and the animation. But it's not okay to just give that a complete pass. It's like, when I first saw it, I was like, this is a 9.5 out of 10, but I got to bust it down at least to an 8.5 out of 10 now. Like, and that may not seem like such a big distinction, but it is for me. Like, you can't have these writing mistakes and be a good for the general audience. Like, I'm giving it every bit of understanding, but even with that, it just needs more. And I'm disappointed, honestly. And this is not your fault, but like, after listening to what y'all had to say, which are good points, I'm sort of disappointed in them because they come close. If they had just spent like another 3 weeks in the writer's room or something and really figured this shit out, it could have been so much better because they have the pieces. They just don't put them together right. But
the foundation is there. I agree.
Yeah, but with the animation and the fight choreography and just I tend to like really, my thing I really love in movies and media is those moments that transcend the series and that stick with me. And there are some really good moments in this season, like, with the Blade of Momora and then, realizing what happened to them, even if it doesn't make sense. The rallying of the Earth, which like I really liked, like those things, like I'm just like, yeah, I'm on board, let's get it. But you can't, it's not fair to talk to the general audience and be like, here's my rating, it's based on how I feel. I probably have to bust it down to an 8 out of 10. Not thinking about it. Honestly, like, it's just like,
we're gonna keep going until he finally gets down to like 5 or something, and just
it's got to be an 8 lions out of 10 because, God, they just should have spent more time on this.
I'll tell you what, I am disappointed as well. I knew this series, it wasn't written by Brian and Mike from, or they weren't the creators on this. It was Lauren Montgomery and I forget who else. And they have a different vision, and honestly, they're not, I knew this series wasn't going to ever be as good as Avatar or Korra. Like, I don't expect that from them. Avatar and Korra were kind of very special in the time they came out and all the different pieces that came together, so I don't expect that level of just like, holy shit, this is like one of the best things I've ever watched. On the other hand, I do expect just general competence when it comes to writing some of this stuff, and I do feel like, despite obviously there is something going on with the production of this, is why they keep rushing out seasons. The writing is now feeling rushed. It feels like rather than having 6 weeks to write out the series, they like, no, we're shooting in 2 weeks, or we're animating in 2 weeks, so get everything done in 2 weeks. And I feel like the series is suffering, and the only reason I'm mean about it is because I don't feel like giving things a pass, especially if I like, or if I like them, because you need to be better. And in regards to the LGBTQ thing, you need to be a lot better.
Or just don't do that at all. Like,
don't do it at all if you don't want to do it.
And I know that in the Hollywood scene or in the production thing, it's different. You don't have a bunch of people screaming at you about representation, and it feels like you might be doing the right thing, but I don't know. Learn from ScarJo's example and just sometimes peer pressure and just don't do it, guy. Like, don't do it. I was gonna give this series 2 out of 5 this season. But I'll tell you what, that final fight and the lead up to season 8 really does make me excited. It made me remember a lot of the stuff that I liked from the first half of the season. And I was like, okay, you get a 3 out of 5, but by the skin of your teeth. And you're on probation, Voltron. Like, which is weird because it's probably the next season is going to be your last season.
Probably.
But still, the principle of the thing. I'm disappointed in you. You did bad, Voltron. You go sit in the corner, kitty. Travis, what do you feel about it?
I really want to know what's going on the production end of this show. Like, it seems that...
Oh, it's Netflix. You'll never know.
I know we'll never know, but I want to know because I'm just like, what is going on back there? Like, are they just throwing darts to find out when they're releasing, or what the fuck is happening? It feels like this whole thing is being done on a dare now, where it's like, how fast can you get this out? 4 weeks? Got it. Like, I don't understand. Because this show was like, I like Voltron. This show wasn't ever like spectacular. It was always like, this is pretty good. I like this. I don't like this season. like at all.
It always intrigued me because it had the potential. Like, if this is good, but it has the potential to be great.
Yeah,
and I don't know how everyone else feels, but like, I don't think it ever quite got there, and that's what's the most disappointing thing is about is that I feel like we're going backwards.
Right. And I know that Nick and I especially are being rather harsh on this, but we do have to bring it up the point that the fandom has to calm the fuck down.
Yes.
Because you guys are toxic.
Calm your tits, guys. Like,
it's
Jesus
damn
Christ.
fandom, you scary.
Yeah, you very scary, and you are not helping.
Yeah,
definitely you're not, because you're just showing DreamWorks like, woo, that's,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, attempted blackmail is not exactly the best way to get people to do what you want.
Yeah. But still, I didn't like this season at all. There was things I liked about it, but so much that I absolutely hated that I can't even give it a very good rating. We've mentioned most of it. I think the Admiral is actually like my biggest problem of this series, is that the way they treated that character and the way they played it out was so poorly done that it kind of detrimented anything else that came after that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we even mentioned like Lance's sister, great character, really cool. I like her.
Yeah.
Still not enough to bring this up anywhere. The writing was just bad. Just bad, I'm sorry to say. The characters still did get their interesting points, and they, like I said, did give Hunk a little bit more to do, so I'm kind of excited for that. I'm just gonna give it a 4 out of 10.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's kind of insulting on like the fact that it's not better than it was.
Sure. All right, well, those were our ratings. Thank you so much for joining us, Elliott. We are going to be going to the spoiler section in just a minute, but before we do that, we would, so give you a chance to guys to actually watch the season for any of the stuff we haven't spoiled yet. In the meantime, Elliott, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on oneofus.net. I'm a contributor, and I might be doing a YouTube channel sometime in the future.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that, guys. He's a very funny guy. I enjoy whenever he's on for highly suspect reviews. And back when he was on the Inside the Locker, was the only sports podcast I ever listened to, because I don't really like sports at all, but they were so funny that I actually started to listen.
It was actually funny when we met. He was like, "Oh, I remember Inside the Locker." I'm like, "You remember?"
I do.
Nick remembers all the old podcasts.
I'm such a podcast whore. I listen to everything. But yeah, you can also check out some of our previous catalog of Netflix and kills, including our previous seasons of Voltron that we talked about, or just our regular episodes of the UGO podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star review if you are there, helps us out with that algorithm, or you can follow us on Twitter at UGO Podcast, or follow us on Facebook. Give us a like while you're there. In the meantime, guys, we're going to hit to the spoiler section. We'll be back right after this musical break.
I see what's happening here. You're face to face with greatness, and it's strange. You don't even know how you feel. It's adorable. Well, it's nice to see that paladins never change. Open your eyes, let's begin. Yes, it's really me, it's Shiro. Breathe it in. I know it's a lot, the hair, the bod, when you're staring at a palagod.
And welcome to the spoiler section for Voltron Season 7. Okay, guys, so there's a couple things that I wanted to hit in regards to the last couple episodes here. We'll start small, work our way up. I just want to mention, right off the bat, Shiro's, we'll start with the Admiral first. We'll work our way up to Shiro. The Admiral betrays them, obviously, but of course we have to do the honorable sacrifice redemption thing that is very obvious and kind of dumb, because it makes the Voltron team look like idiots, because it's not the first thing they do after they are captured and then realize that they can use the lions remotely is not to rescue themselves, even though that when they're prisoners, and I'm like, wouldn't your immediate thought be, oh, better protect myself because the enemy will probably see like, oh, the Voltron things are flying. Well, that can't be possible. We have the people in the cells. Go check the cells. Like, that's the next thing that happens, and yet it takes them forever to go and save themselves.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, that is pretty part of course, their characterizations, though. It's like, oh, our friends are being attacked. Let's go save them.
Sure, but if they could just, again, a line of dialogue saying, like, we should save it. Like, no, we have to save the Atlas first, and then save ourselves. Like, I'm not looking for a lot. Just a line of dialogue to make things make more sense.
My thing is, have they never been in an airplane? It's like you put the mask on yourself first.
Yes.
On your child.
Thank you. Yes, exactly.
It's a perfect representation of that.
So the Admiral dies. No one cares.
No, she didn't die. I don't think she died.
No, she died.
No, she died. At the end, there's a picture at the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
No, it's that's right, because the black line like pops through and you made the joke of like, oh, I was fine until that shrapnel came through.
Yeah, I was actually fine until that shrapnel from the wall came through and you actually killed me. Like,
I just wish they had they really needed to tell us she's a general. She's not stupid, and when you make a deal, the other side, especially if they're opposed to you, is never going to uphold their end of the deal unless you have some kind of leverage to make them uphold it. She would have never made that deal.
Especially
considering how competent they showed her before this. She's like, no, I'm the smart one. I have all the best plans, and I know what I'm doing.
Especially since they show Voltron being the best weapon in the universe. They're like, she should really like weigh that into like, oh, well, I mean, he's our best chance for success, so why even bother giving him up? If the Voltron bots were damaged already or something, and it didn't cost her that much to give them up, I would get that more.
Or if Voltron had been there the whole time and they were still losing.
Like, again, you and me just talking about it, it's like they never had this brainstorming session of just making things...
Well, I even had a different brainstorming session is that it makes no sense for the Admiral to even know that betrayed them. It makes way more sense that the one... I don't even know what he was, but like the guy that always had his eyes closed.
His eye closed, yeah. If
that guy.
he had betrayed them, that would have been surprising.
Yeah, because he was undermining her the whole time, going with Pidge's dad and everything, and just be like... just kind of be like, oh, hey, I was actually like feeding the Gauler information the whole time. I was, allowing Pidge's dad to undermine you the whole time.
Yeah.
It would just be way more sense to have him be the betrayer.
Yeah, and it would have really come off better. Yeah. And that way the previous stuff would have come off as intentional, and would have saved some of that bad writing before.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're doing the, the pinging out to the galaxy. Yeah, here, go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
But instead, it really does. It's the most shining example of what's wrong with the season for the Admiral, because it's so obvious what they're trying to go for, and they fail so spectacularly that it's impossible to ignore. Like, unless you're Elliott and having way too much fun, I guess.
It's like, if you're having like as much fun as I was having, you just sort of go, oh, I'm going to keep on going. This is fine.
Yeah, so after that, we do see, or before that, I should say, Shiro arrives on Earth, and we did see Shiro's fiancée die in a small scene in one of the fighter jets with little to no fanfare.
In fact, we didn't even realize... Wait, that was him, right? Yeah,
well, I wasn't sure, because everyone wears helmets, and then there's more than one person with glasses. So I was like... And that's the only thing that made him look different with the helmet on.
Right.
So I was like, maybe that was him? Like...
So, yeah, they showed him in two scenes. He dies in one of them. Congratulations.
And he dies before Shiro can come and they have any conflict with what they set up beforehand. Essentially, having a gay character but not having to have them kiss on screen and having anything too icky, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I know that's probably wasn't their intention.
Doesn't matter if it's intention or not, it's homophobic. But it's literally what it is.
It feels like, oh, we have representation, but we're doing the smallest amount possible and not really, so if people want to watch the series and they are homophobic, they can ignore it. And it just feels like no one was paying attention. Like, how many articles have to be written about the bury your gays trope before people in productions in Hollywood are like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't just randomly kill. Like, even if you're thinking about killing a gay character, shouldn't you think to yourself, okay, this is a risky thing to do, so I should make sure this is worth it in the story to do it, because this is a thing that people get mad about. But I don't know.
Like, I mean, they didn't even I didn't even notice when he died the first time I watched it.
Yeah, because it's
if I hadn't read ahead of time that happens, I would have never noticed.
It's a blink and you miss it thing. Like, I wasn't sure until they show his picture at the end.
Yeah, no, again, like I said before, Nick went to the bathroom during the scene where that guy first shows up, and then if I hadn't told him about it, he would have never even known.
Mm-hmm. And, I at the end point there, I would have been like, if Shiro Shiro gets some great moments in this ending too. I'll tell you what. Mm-hmm. And if at the end of it, Shiro like pulls out of the wreckage, and then his fiance comes out, and he tips that bitch, and just like goes for the whole, I'm home, like World War II kiss, like tilting kiss, I would have been like, yes.
That would have redeemed everything.
Like that would have been a great moment, right? Like that would have been like,
look, you thought we were going to do this,
yeah,
but we went the other. Like even a flashback where it's like, just if you can't, like, I don't think it's homophobic personally, because but you definitely don't. Get credit
I should say it's not that it's homophobic.
Half.
It's pandering to homophobes is a better way of putting it.
Yes. Like, but you don't get credit for you don't get credit for half measures anymore.
Yeah,
the Korra got that credit. That credit's done.
Yeah, and
if you're going to do it now, it should be a step ahead. You should actually show it, especially since you're on Netflix, not Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where Sense8 was a show.
Yeah, and Sense8 is on Netflix. What the fuck is happening here? Like, and
like we're not asking for an orgy. We're really not.
Yeah, and
I mean, some people might,
and some people
some people on Twitter sort of are. If you like look at our Tumblr,
we personally are not asking for an orgy.
Yeah, and some people say that the Korra gets a little too much credit for its representation, and there's an argument to be made there.
Definitely.
But I feel like since we know so much about the production behind the scenes,
but we know how hard they tried,
and how hard they had to try and fight for it, we can forgive them more. And because Netflix is so tight-lipped about their production, and we don't know what happened, our imaginations run rampant, and it does not service them at all. So. Again, it's a messy situation. But moving on to some of the cooler shit. So after the whole fight is done, and after we get Zendak and Shiro have the coolest like bionic arm fight ever.
So we even mentioned that like he gets a fucking telekinetic arm just like Zendak.
Yeah, which cool. Like I didn't know that was available on Earth, but awesome. Not sure why Shiro's the only one with one of those. Like it feels like some other people could use it, but fine. They power the Atlas through shenanigans of it's
space
like
magic.
Well, it's like, oh, this crystal is nowhere near big enough to power this whole ship until it magically grows, because whatever. Like just, and I'm at that point I was like, I'm gonna let this go. This is I don't care about this particularly. This is something that I can let go. This is just magic, lion magic robot shit. I don't care. But I'll tell you what did bother me slightly is that when the final robot comes down, where after the whole fighting is dead, and this big Gundam thing comes down and just starts whooping Voltron's ass.
More like Evangelion to me.
Yes, like it was like an Eva. And then I love this robot. I love the design, its weapons. It's super cool. Feels very dangerous. And then the Atlas gets in on the fight and gets some shots in, but obviously it's this big moving ship, so it can't really, maneuver that much.
Right. And also the Eva can absorb energy.
Yeah,
it can absorb friendship. We're doomed.
So until the Atlas, like Shiro, just like has a moment to himself, is like, I know what to do, and just flies into space, and then it transforms into a giant, like, robot, like, not Unicron size, but still, like, way bigger than anything else we've seen before, and then comes down, and I just want to be one of the engineering guys that ends up in the leg, going, what the fuck is happening? All the transformation, just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I like how he just tells them, hold on. It's like, what do you mean, hold on?
What do you mean, hold on? Holy shit.
To what?
And then they show the command bridge later, and everyone's just cool.
Yeah, they're like
it's just another Saturday. Like, no, you guys should be way freaking out about this. Like, this ship is doing shit that is not designed to do. And yeah, so they just blow right by that. But unfortunately, that also doesn't work because the Eva can make energy copies of itself that grow big.
Yeah. It can astral project in physical manifestation, apparently.
Yeah, so that happens. And I forget exactly how they defeat the robot as well. Don't
they overload it with friendship?
Oh, yeah. Or the heart of the cards, or some bullshit. I forget. Like, it's
blue eyes, white robot.
It gets very anime of just like, no, we have to believe in ourselves or something. And
but even here's the thing: it's not even as good as like Naruto or Bleach, because Bleach, when Ichigo gets all his power ups, at least the concept has been introduced
beforehand.
Like, he's like, his mother was like, when she was pregnant, she was attacked by a hollow and all that shit.
At least when Ichigo's revealed to be everything, it's like, well, all these things already existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like, we're gonna like that was. I mean, I like Atlas's design, and even me, I was like, y'all, what do you mean? Like, he just turned Atlas into this thing.
It's just out of nowhere. Like, okay, I guess that's a thing that can happen.
That is definitely a thing that can happen.
And I don't know. It just feels like I don't like a series where like it just feels like at any moment the writers can just decide that anything happens. Like, and they really are.
It's not really a Deus Ex Machina if it happens every 5 seconds.
Well, and they're leaning on the magic science element of Voltron real hard, of like kind of explaining, like they're explaining sort of some stuff, but then some stuff is just up in the air, like, well, it's magic, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do like Shiro in the final episodes though, of commanding the Atlas even before it turns into a robot, because he is just full of fucking swagger.
Yeah, like, no, he's so shocked that everyone's like, "You're in charge." Like, what do you mean I'm in charge? Have you seen your metaphorical dick, dude?
Dude, you radiate big dick energy. Like, it's just like everyone, when he shows up on the deck for the first time, everyone just immediately is just like, "Oh, okay, Captain's here." Like, and people who don't even know who he is are like, "Oh, this guy is definitely in charge."
I'm actually pretty sure that's actually like. The Atlas actually does not work when Shiro's not on it, because it's actually not powered by that crystal. It's actually powered by big dick energy.
Big dick energy, yeah. And I imagine people that are just like randomly watching him like, oh no, see the white hair and the scar on his face? He's definitely the main character. He's definitely main anime character material. We should definitely listen to him. So yeah, I like that moment. I feel like Lance and his family and Hunkin and the family aspect after they all win is very heartfelt and touching. There's a lot of good stuff at the very, very end that I actually quite enjoy. Is there anything else in the spoiler section we wanted to mention?
What powers the Ava?
Oh, right. It's actually a surprise. It's an Altean, which is weird. Do you think?
Yeah.
So, do you think that it's from the Altean like laboratory that they had, or is it actually?
Oh, it's the witch. She went there. Remember?
Oh, Hagar.
Oh,
yeah,
that's probably what it is. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Hagar found the
Hagar's
secret place.
Hagar's been absent for this season, so that's probably what she's been doing this whole time. Okay, so that's cool. And I mean, I like that, and I also like the element of like having what appears to be kind of a drone bot. Or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to call it, I guess it's not quite a robeast, right? Like, we're pretty much past robeasts, right?
Yeah.
Like, when was the last robeast we fought?
Oh, wasn't that season 1?
No, there's been a couple of
robeasts.
But yeah, overall, I do miss a distinctive villain. Zandak is not exactly the most interesting guy either.
Yeah, he just feels like a substitute teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm sort of evil, but do your assignments tonight.
Yeah.
Here's a movie, watch it.
Yeah. I feel like the Earth invasion would have been a lot more threatening if Lotor or even, what's his name, Zarkon was leading the forces.
Oh yeah, hands down, they're characters.
Yeah, and so I feel like we missed out on that opportunity as well. But hey, what are you going to do? They keep killing their more interesting villains.
I know, right?
And then shuffling off the side characters off to the side. Like, we didn't even mention Keith's girlfriend, maybe sibling. I don't know.
Maybe sibling.
It's sort of a Luke and Leia situation.
I don't know what they are. They're definitely something. There's something going on there.
Guys, this is not the representation we wanted here. Let's not do that.
This isn't Game of Thrones. Calm down.
Amazing.
But you know what? You just brought up something really amazing, that our society is more comfortable, even if it's presented as they're evil, they're more comfortable seeing Game of Thrones where a sister and a brother kiss than a gay kiss.
Yep.
Wow. That's depressing.
100% true.
And one of them is presented as we should never approve that. But again, it's like, you know, if this is going to be a weird sentence I'm about to say, if Trump has taught us anything, there really aren't any consequences that last for doing something that people might think is outrageous. You just sort of have to do it, and then just let people deal with it.
Yeah,
it's like
we're in the age
you want to kiss,
of
have them kiss.
We're in the age of nobody gives a shit anymore. Just like do it. Like people might be mad for a week and a half, but then they'll forget about it. All right, like
it's like the James Gunn stuff. If you wanted to hire him back, just hire him back. And there's so much shit going on all the time that nobody can stay mad that long. Like the conservatives a few weeks ago were mad about a New York Times editor that was hired, Sarah Jong, because she had some tweets that they didn't like. Nobody's talking about it anymore, even though the New York Times stayed with her.
Because there's so much shit going on at all times, you can't even keep track of it all.
All you gotta do is have a little balls, stand your ground for the week, and figure it out. Like it's just, and again, we don't know what happened on the production side. Maybe it was out of the creator's hands. We don't know, but it sure feels like a real big mistake what they tried to go for here. And I think that was all the thing I wanted to mention for the spoiler section. Anyone else got anything?
That's pretty much it.
No? Elliot, how about you?
Not really. I'm trying to think. Like, I just really am excited where they're going in the next season. But I sort of this show, it really is an anime because you can end it at several different points. Mm-hmm. Like you can be like, oh, the ending was at the end of season 5 or season 3. Or the endings at the end of season 7, just wherever you feel comfortable ending it, you can just be like, I'm done.
Just do it.
Oh, yeah. Also, the wolf from last season can teleport out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Very
convenient. Doesn't do that in the end fight.
No, which is very strange, considering there's a whole segment where Shiro's like, I'm going to go onto the ship. And it's like, how are you going to get on there? And I immediately go, teleporting wolf, right?
Cosmo, the teleporting space wolf.
But no. He jumps out and jets over there, Star Trek Into Darkness style, and I was like, wait a minute, why did we introduce a teleporting wolf if we don't use the teleporting wolf?
I mean, they do use him, but not like in this scene, and it's really weird.
I mean...
No, you're completely right.
Like, they use him for a couple episodes, and then the writers get bored with him, I think.
I mean, they even... One of the episodes, they use him just for comedic effect, too, when they first reveal he can teleport. Like, oh, well, everyone's in the wrong spaceship, which are huge, or wrong line, which are fucking huge anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, hey, we can teleport. I'm like, okay,
well, cool. If it was me, and he solely revealed he could teleport, I would go, hey, what the fuck? Remember the ending of season 6? Remember that, Wolf? Remember where the teleporting thing could have come in handy a couple of times? No? Fuck you, Cosmo.
Bad dog.
Also, Keith, they blew back where Keith said something absolutely insane. Where he's like, oh, what's the wolf's name? Oh, he doesn't really have one. Oh, well, we should name him. What about Cosmo? It's like, I figured that when he was ready, he'd tell me his name. But that's the line of dialogue. I'm not exaggerating. And let me...
No, I think but like, I just sort of love that line of dialogue because it's like, it's so funny. It breaches me being upset about it.
And no one brings it up. But this is not a talking wolf. This wolf does not talk. What is... No, he's succumbing to space madness. Why is no one concerned about this? The thing he just... No, Keith, do you smell toast? Because you're obviously having a stroke. What you said was insane. Like, just...
Let's see, they blew past it so fast, but it's so fucking funny.
Ooh, also, we gotta mention my favorite part of the series, where they pick up a transmission on the TV. And they're like, oh, and they had it in the previous scene with in the previous episode with the game show as well, with this actor or whatever. They're like these noodle people.
Bino.
And this one, it comes up like a honeymooner sketch.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, ha, ha, we're all laughing. And then the husband worm noodle punches the female worm noodle in a domestic violence thing. And I laughed so hard. Way harder than I should have. You did laugh.
Like, you were just nonstop laughing for like 5 minutes. I was like, Nick, what is wrong with you?
Because it's so dark. Like, it's such a dark thing on what's ostensibly a children's show to just out of nowhere show domestic violence as the punchline of a joke. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't so dark, it wouldn't be funny. But it really is.
But Nick laughs at inappropriate things.
Oh man, yeah. So I didn't see anyone being upset about that though. So I think like that one was just
because again, domestic violence is more normalized than homophobic or homosexual relationships.
I feel like that's also a valid point. But yeah, that's all right. That's we talked about domestic violence, teleporting wolves. That's everything.
That's it.
That's covered everything in the spoiler section. Elliot, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely fantastic. We'll definitely have you on for next season, and hopefully even some more Netflix and kills in the future, because this has been absolutely a blast.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen too often that we actually lower our guest ratings, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I try my best to. I never want to be, what's the word, obtuse to where if people make good points, they make good points, and you got to change how you view things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do sometimes our guest ratings change. It's only if I don't agree with them and I go back and change them in editing. So, so Elliot, I really appreciate your score of 5 out of 10 for this series. It was a real surprise near the end for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much, and thank everyone for listening. We're going to get on out of here. Until next time, we are Unapologists Geek Out, and we're out.
Hey, what has 2 thumbs and fell from the sky? When Pidge was a garrison spy, this guy. When he got too bold, who saved him from Zarkon's final blow? You're looking at him, yo. Oh, 4 pitches, bro. I took the fall. You're welcome. I'm like a latte double tall. Said you who in some reality. You're welcome. You wanna pick the first one's free. So what can I say except you're welcome for the Gora I brought to their knees. There's no need to pray. It's okay. You're welcome. Ha! I guess it's just my way of being me. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, come to think of it, kids, honestly, I can go on and on. List everybody who calls me the champion. That planet where we were stuck to the ground, that was Shiro just messing around. I killed my Zax because I was tough. Got this new hand and now I'm super buff. What's the lesson? What is the takeaway? Don't mess with Shiro when he's on the breakaway. And the massive scar here on my skin is a map of the victories I win. Look where I've been, I make everything happen. Look at all slippery Scarannies, just slip it deep, tap and tap and hop.